Okay, awesome. Um, all right. So this is how you can stay in contact with us. We have Instagram, which is where we're most active. So that would definitely be like number one. And then we also have a Twitter. This is a new Twitter. We had to like switch to a different account. So it's the same handle, but it's a different account. So if you were following the old one, go ahead and make sure to refollow our new one. We also have a Facebook page. This QR code is to our Slack channel, which is kind of like a group chat where we post all of our announcements and everything like that. So feel free to join that. And then we also have an email if you ever have any questions or anything like that. You can always reach out to us. Okay, next slide, Dylan. Okay, I'll pass this off to Gabby.
Hi guys, I'm Gabby. I am your CFO. If you want to become an official College Dems member, you can Venmo or Cash App us. I can never say that word. The dues for the semester is still $15. Venmo and Cash App are on the screen. And this is typically if you want to vote in upcoming elections, if you want to run a caucus of your own, and I think if we want to participate in the debate, correct? Do you stay a member for that?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
if you want to be on the debate committee, yeah.
Yeah. And if you have any questions about dues, feel free to DM us.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit now about political careers. Each of our officers is going to have a little section, and then we have some exciting speakers here with us tonight. So I'll go ahead and pass it off back to Gabby for the first one.
Okay, I'm back. So the first legal or career we're going to talk about is the legal field. And the first little section of the legal field, and the one we're going to kind of emphasize tonight, is the nonprofit legal work. We have Donna Haynes with us, and she's from the Legal Aid Society of the Orange County Bar Association. So if she would like to speak right now about what legal aid does and how you can get involved, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to play a short video real quick. I have it pulled up. Dylan, can you stop sharing so I can do mine?
My name is Shamika. This is my story. At the age of 13, I was placed into the foster care system because my mom was abusing me. My mom used illegal drugs and she was abusing alcohol. I did not have any family that could care for me. I have a grandma that loves me but could not take care of me. At 15, my mother started to severely beat, abuse, and neglect me. She used whatever she could, a broom, cable cords, or anything she could reach. I ran away from my mom, and I became a victim of human trafficking. No child can choose to become a slave. This is something that is forced upon a victim. About their next meal, about diseases. Because I was such a young child, I depended upon these predators to house, feed, and shield me. Remember, I was just 15. The people that were directly responsible for my well-beings were the ones that, in a nasty way, took advantage of my vulnerable 15-year-old body and spirit. When there is no one to trust, you enter the dependency system with many emotions and physical needs. I was in need of medical care and psychological care. Excuse me. As in most human trafficking cases, the victim is resistant to help. I did not know who to trust. My legal aid attorney advocated for me to receive the care that human trafficking victims need. This means extensive mental health counseling. My attorney did not give up on me. When I gave up on myself and resisted care, in this case, the Guardian and Enlighten program was there to help me. In return, it saved and changed my life. Statistically, I should be dead, uneducated, and using drugs or alcohol. But I am here. I'm in Westside Tech College. I went to counseling and provided health screenings that were appropriate for human trafficking victims. I'm entering adulthood. I work in McDonald's. I'm saving up for a car. I live with a family friend, pay rent, and participate in the home as if I were a family member. My goal is to one day speak out and become an advocate to help others that have been in the foster care system. I'm studying to become a human trafficking counselor. Today is the beginning of that journey. I can make it because an attorney cared. While attorneys advocate for the best interest of the child, know this: I'm advocating for the best interest of the attorneys. I ask that you reach deep in your pockets and provide this non-profit law firm with the dollars they need so they can save and change lives like they did mine. Thank you for all you do.
You can cut it there, Hannah. All right, so can you guys see me? Ooh. I am Donna Haynes. I'm the Development Director at the Legal Aid Society. And I'm here to chat with you guys about the Legal Aid Society, who we are and what we do. So we are in downtown Orlando and we're a nonprofit charity. Sorry about that. We provide free legal services. When you say with liberty and justice for all, you're not saying with liberty and justice for just those that can afford an attorney. Justice for all is expensive and justice for all is important. We are a nonprofit charity that works with the 6,982 attorneys in town that donate time to help low-income folks. The young lady that you just heard is a client of ours, and we provided her with a free attorney. There's so many different things that we do to change lives and equal the playing field. Right now, imagine COVID, how it affects the legal system, housing, foreclosures, evictions, things like that. Some wrongful, some just need counsel and advice. Some folks need money, and we are a law firm. We can't give money to folks, but we can put them in connection with people that can help them with their rent or their electric or situations like that. We also do immigration. Let's agree that a 9-year-old child that's being beat, abused, or neglected, or sexually human trafficked, regarding of where they were born in Alabama or in Mexico, deserves an attorney. We do not take federal funding so that we can provide access to justice to everyone who qualifies, who needs assistance in civil matters. Now, we're not the public defenders or state attorney's office. We're a group of people that coordinates with volunteers. We have a staff of 45. 17 of them are case-specific attorneys in certain areas of law. So we do senior work. We do veterans work. As I mentioned, we do the Guardian ad litem work with the abused, abandoned, neglected children. We do free taxes for low-income individuals. The work that we do over at the Legal Aid Society is amazing. I may be a little bit partial because I work there, but I can tell you it's a pleasure to drive to work. When I drive to work right now, obviously I'm working from home, but you have to be excited every day when you go to work, and you have to love what you do. I can see that with attorneys, you even the playing field. You make it more. If access to the courts is only for those who can afford an attorney, how is that equal? Often an attorney will pick up the phone and call a landlord and say, no, that seeing eye dog has to stay there. And because an attorney made a phone call, the matter's resolved. Otherwise, people's rights are often trampled upon. Now, 7 to 10 minutes is certainly not enough for me to tell you about who we are and what we do fully, but just know that we need your help. I put my name, my contact information, and some of the projects that we need help on in the chat box. The young lady that you listened to speak tonight, that's an example of a volunteer advocate, a child that needs a volunteer advocate. So some kids are 2 years old, and obviously when you check on them once a month, you check in on them with a daycare and you're giving a report to a judge in a court. That's quick, that's easy. Others are like Shamika, who's a sexual human trafficking victim that you get on the phone and you chat with for a half an hour to an hour, and you give the same report over, and you would tell an attorney that you're working with, look, this kid needs mental health counseling, sexually transmitted disease testing. There's a list of stuff, and yes, you provided those lists and the information. If you want to become a volunteer advocate, it looks great on your resume. If you're interested in volunteering with the fundraising, the development department, that would be great. My name is obviously on the screen. We need help with certain projects. And if you're interested in me getting a team of people to come back and speak with you about elections and topics that are specific to what you guys are looking at, that would be great. I'd love to set that up for you. And then I noticed you had your DMATE information, so I dropped the name of an attorney in the box and there's also Cynthia Schmidt, who's an attorney in town. Great teachers of debate that are lawyers. They have often trained the legal teams who are win awards all over town. So if that's something that you are interested in checking back with me, that's great. In a nutshell, we really could use your help, and there are different ways that you could do it. If you have more time on another day, I could break it down area by area, but we need your help, and we change lives, and hope you'll be able to do that with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us tonight. If anybody is interested in volunteering, I put the contact info in the chat, as well as some details. But yeah, thank you so much for coming out tonight.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Okay, Dylan, if you could share the PowerPoint again, and then Gabby can pick back up.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, just to emphasize, nonprofit legal work is great. Full disclosure, I work for the Legal Aid Society in Orange County, and it is a very fulfilling job, and it's a great community organization because it is downtown, right down the street. So yeah, and then obviously, if anybody is interested in going to law school, I'm sure a lot of you are, and maybe you don't want to take a traditional political route, legal work is great. And I really just put the bare minimum up on the screen of certain areas of law you could go into. The state attorney's office, obviously it's the prosecuting office. We have the 9th Judicial Circuit in Orlando. Monique Worrell is our current state attorney. She's actually come to a couple of DEMS events, and she's wonderful. There's obviously always the public defender's office, and this is the state defense attorneys. So opposite end of the coin, where, and also I do want to emphasize that legal aid and the public defender's office are different offices. Legal aid works with low income people who qualify for free legal services. The public defender's office are typically people involved in criminal cases, and those who cannot afford a private attorney. And that's Robert Wesley in Orlando. They have a pretty big office. I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's also downtown. Um, but, and then there's always, you could be a private attorney or you could work for a private attorney. You could be a paralegal, legal assistant, you could do secretarial work, whatever that implies. So if any of these interest you, I highly look into reaching out to any of these offices, trying to intern, trying to clerk, whatever you're thinking. But yeah, legal work's great. Yeah, so I'm gonna pass it on to Dylan. Next slide.
Okay, hello. I'm Dylan. I'm the vice president. And before I let Isabel from Florida PIRG go, I'm just going to quickly go over just two different types of activism and lobbying that you might foresee in the future. The first one is government relations and public policy analyst. So these are the people that are hired by interest groups and basically craft the policy, do the research, create the plans that are then used by the interest groups to lobby elected and appointed officials. Whether it can also include like lobbying cities and states and the federal government as well, not just specific people. But that's something that, especially if you're in like a public admin or political science track, you might find yourself doing. And that can be from any number of interest groups. Interest groups include organizations like Mom Demand Action or Equality Florida. They include unions and other groups such all over the place that you could be a part of. And the other one is a community organizer. So a community organizer is a little more ambiguous. Sometimes you might be working with an organization, sometimes you might be independent. But generally, the goal of a community organizer is to interact and enter communities and effectively to advocate for the interests of that community. That's something that you can see at a very hyper local level and something you can see at a national level. It's worth mentioning that Barack Obama began his career as a community organizer. So it's something that is very ingrained in not only the Democratic Party, or definitely should be more than it is, but something that is very fulfilling as a job, because communities need as much activism as possible to mobilize. And the biggest factor of community organizers is that it's a year-long thing. It's not you go into a community every 2 or 4 years and ask for their vote. It's predicated on actually serving communities, because if you're doing something that requires voting, they have to earn it. And that's where community organizing really comes in. But even if you're not, just advocating for communities is extremely important. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Isabel to give you guys a little more information about Florida PIRG.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for having me. Fun fact, actually, Barack Obama started as a community organizer with PIRG in New York. That was his first job out of college. And that's something that we talk a lot about. I think there's one article where he talks about it and he's like, yeah, I learned a lot, which is good because that's what we work to, we work to train and teach our community organizers, whether they stay or leave, to gain real skills in making a grassroots impact right away. So I would consider myself a community organizer, but my specific title is a campus organizer with the Student PIRGs, or Public Interest Research Group. And I'm actually the organizer at UCF. So I work with a team of around, I would say, 65 students working on a number of different issues. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what being a campus organizer looks like. If you are a graduating senior and you are looking for a job right now and you're interested in organizing and making a difference right away, you can fill out this interest form and I will get in touch with you about setting up your route to applying and tell you more about the position in depth. But a little bit about our organization. We believe that students have always been at the forefront of movements to build a better future for our country, from civil rights to voting rights to the environment. And that is the legacy that fuels our mission as we as organizers work to help students get energized, organized, and train them on the skills and tactics that they need to keep building a better future. So some examples of this, we just wrapped up our new voters project this past fall. It's something that we run pretty much all the time, but especially during heavy election cycles. We helped mobilize thousands of students to register and turn out to the polls. And in the final days leading up to Election Day, our team nationwide made over 390,000 personal get out the vote reminder contacts to college students. And while the numbers are still rolling in, we've already seen a real increase in youth voter turnout compared to 2016, and know that we played a really heavy role in that through a lot of our grassroots tactics, talking with students about how to register, lots of phone banking, and really students running the movements on the ground to get folks registered into the polls. But our organizers also are mobilizing students on campus and right now online to tackle climate change by convincing colleges to commit to meet their energy needs with 100% renewable sources. And this is something that we're building real momentum on after last spring when CalPERG students was awarded the American Climate Leadership Award for successfully getting the University of California system to commit to 100%. And we're taking that momentum nationwide, even here at UCF, where we're running a 100% renewable energy campaign to get the school to make that commitment, hopefully by the end of this year. And we're also, helping tackle America's plastic problem, moving aggressively towards zero waste and having campuses commit to the Break Free from Plastics pledge. A big part of organizing in this role is that, like I mentioned earlier, building momentum is a really big part of that. So a really great example of this is we trained students on how to get plastic banned from their dining hall. And then we took that to the city council and got a ban in the city where the University of Connecticut was. And then we took that statewide and got plastic bags banned across the entire state. And that, again, was completely led by students, but because our organizers were training them on the skills that they needed to be successful in that. We also just work on a number of different issues that affect students and also the communities surrounding everyone's campus, from hunger and homelessness issues to college affordability, like doubling Pell Grants. We're going to start working on the recent Bright Futures bill that's been introduced. I don't know if any of you have seen that. It just was introduced, but it's something that's come onto our radar that we want to work on. And also talking about textbook affordability on campus and access to open source materials. We even have a Save the Bees campaign. We work on things that we know that about 80% of the population agrees with. So that's both sides of the aisle. And things like climate change, we know that folks care about, civic engagement, as well as college affordability and more. Bottom line, we all want to live meaningful lives in a world that's greener and healthier. And that's the future that our campus organizers work to build every day. So if you're interested in a career working with great people and gaining real skills that start making a difference on important issues right away, this could be a really great fit. So again, there's that interest form in the chat. I also mentioned earlier that we're working on getting UCF to go 100% renewable energy. We're also running campaigns on textbook affordability, hunger and homelessness, and taking other small actions where we can to make an impact in the UCF community. But I'm going to drop the 100% renewable energy petition that we have. We are about to hit 500 petition signatures with a goal of 1,000 by the end of this month. We expect to get there pretty soon because folks seem really excited about this campaign. Definitely open that up and sign it. And if you're not a graduating senior, we also have volunteer and internship opportunities. Our internships are rolling, where you get to learn a lot of those skills I was talking about that our organizers do teach. And while you fill that out, I can talk a little bit more about my personal experience as an organizer, since y'all are covering that. I got my start as a student myself at Eckerd College in St. Pete, where I was able to take real action on getting the Break Free from Plastics pledge passed and actually being the first college in the country to implement it. I also helped in voter registration drives, organizing those events, and seeing voter turnout at my campus increase by over 350% in the 2018 midterms. and also got to be in the room and have really important conversations with the CFO of my college and other top administrators. But that was only possible because of my organizer training me on how to run those meetings, those events, and a bunch of other skills that I've now taken into this role where I get to work with amazing students, both at UCF and UF, where I also organize every single day, training them on leadership roles, and also just making a positive impact that I know is going to not only lead to change on UCF's campus, but is really going to lead to significant statewide change. Looking just at this 100% renewable energy campaign that we're running here, we're hoping that because we're running this campaign at 3 other campuses across the state, that this momentum is going to carry over to the statewide bill that Anna Eskamani has introduced and sort of help bolster her efforts as well to making sure that Florida as a whole is a more sustainable state going forward. That's really all I have. Definitely fill out either of those things if you're interested in getting involved. And thank you again so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. That's really awesome. It's a full-time opportunity, correct?
The job opportunity is full-time. We're hiring for, I mean, you all are students, but we're hiring for immediate positions. And then for graduating seniors for this semester, the position starts August 2021, and it is a full year and is a full-time position, yes.
Awesome, yeah, so that's a really great opportunity if any of you are graduating. Yeah, that's really awesome. Okay, cool. Dylan, if you're finished, you can go to the next.
Hey guys, I'm Paola, the Director of Diversity and Inclusion, and I will be talking about campaign careers. I worked on the Biden campaign. So I kind of divided it. The campaigns, it kind of depends on how the candidate is running it, but I kind of divided it with how they did it for us. Digital was in charge of like media and graphics. So like if you saw all the people with like the blue profile pictures or like the ombre profile pictures, all those graphics, or if like when Kamala came to Orlando and they got it trending on Twitter, that was digital. Political is in charge of like the message that will be portrayed by the candidate. So that's just, yeah, the message. We pretty much get that. They're like in charge of like the guests that we're going to have for events, like what mayors we want to associate with, what other candidates we want to associate with, that kind of thing. And then field, that's where I work. That's kind of what we talked about. Like a community organizer is like a field organizer. You're out there, you're engaging with the voters, you're registering people to vote, you're knocking on doors, you're calling people, you're listening to their issues, you're really trying to mobilize people and get them out there. So yeah, and yep, that's pretty much it. I think Hannah, you're next.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about legislative careers. So mostly when you think about legislative careers, you have state and then federal. State legislatures tend to have like fewer positions. Each state legislator typically has 2 people that work in their office alongside them, and that would be a legislative assistant or aide. The term can be a little bit different, and then a district secretary. So the legislative assistant is kind of like the right-hand man to the legislature. They like follow them back and forth to Tallahassee. They do a lot of research for their legislation and also their votes. They sometimes meet with lobbyists. And then the district secretary is more in charge of like constituent relations and being in the district office and talking to the constituents and handling their issues, and if they write to the legislator, like keeping track of everything like that. In Congress and at a federal level, the staff is, I would say a little bit, but a lot bigger. Each congressional office is set up a little bit differently, but these are some of the main positions that every office has. It can also depend on like the rank of the congressperson. So like Nancy Pelosi has like a lot more staff than like a freshman congressperson. So it just depends on their positions. But the chief of staff is similar to the legislative assistant. That's like the person that runs the office, the right-hand man to the member. Then you have constituent services and caseworkers. They're handling like issues when people contact the congressional office. They're typically set up with a caseworker. Then you have the district or state director. They're dealing with so like in Florida, they'd be dealing with like the state of Florida, dealing with the city of Orlando, really running the district and the state office. The scheduler controls the member's schedule. Typically you'd have one in the district and one in DC, but again, it can depend. And then you have press secretary and comms director. I'm not going to go too into that because we have another slide about that. Counsel is the legal side. So these are typically lawyers, people that have gone to law school, and they handle like the legality of voting, and also they're super informed on all the processes of Congress, and like how all of that works to make sure that the member is up to date on that. And then you'll also have specific policy analysts, or like these are experts on like specific policy areas that help the member with their votes and with their bills. They know like a lot about a very specific area, so they're always briefing the congressperson or senator on that topic. Then when it comes to not working for like a specific elected official, committees, subcommittees, caucuses, things like that, excuse me, they have their own employees, I guess. So you'll have policy aides and analysts for specific committees or caucuses, legislative council, which is again the legal side. And then smaller groups will just have general staff members. So if it's a caucus that doesn't have a lot of members, they might not have specific titles. They'll just have a staff member that controls that helps run the caucus. So I wanted to draw everybody's attention to, it's an app and a website, but it's called Dome Watch. So it was created by Steny Hoyer, who is a House member, a Democratic House member. So it has a lot, the website has a lot, it's very involved. It's basically open, a way for the public to know what's going on the House floor, to be familiar with what the votes are, how members voted, all of that stuff. But there's a section on there at this address and also on the app of, it's like a job posting. So if a member, and it's all Democrats because it was created for the Democratic caucus. So if any member, caucus, committee, anything is looking for an employee, they'll post it on this app or website. So this is everything from like looking for like a chief of staff, which is obviously like not like a beginning level position, everything from that all the way down to like they'll post internships and stuff like that on there, more like entry level positions. So that's a really great resource if you're looking for what kind of careers are out there on a legislative side. It is only the House, but yeah, there's a lot of House members, and right now Democrats are the majority, so there's definitely a lot of postings on there, and it can be interesting to look through those, what the specifics are of each of those jobs. So yeah, it's an app, and also there's that website. I think, I'm not sure who's next, I can't remember.
Oh, it's me. Hi, everyone. I'm Talia. I'm the Director of Public Relations. I kind of run like the Instagram, all the social media. So if you have any questions or you just want to say hi, feel free to DM me. I'm going to be talking about jobs in the political sphere that involve social media and communications. So the first job that I want to talk about is a communication coordinator. This kind of position can be employed by candidates, legislators, and organizations. And some of their main jobs include managing political and legislative communications, writing speeches, coordinating media relations, and updating social media. Secondly, I want to talk about a media strategist, which can be employed by candidates to plan in-person, print, television, radio, online, and social media campaigns. They also organize campaign events, liaison with the press, handle media relations, prepare a candidate for interviews, oversee the creation and production of advertising, and plan ad buys. And I think this is a really important kind of realm of political jobs because social media has a very big impact on just the happenings of the political world. And I feel like, especially now, in an age where more people are becoming more connected online, these positions I think are definitely going to be more heavily sought after in the future. So I think I'm going to pass it over to, I think Matthew is next.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you. So, hey everyone, I'm Matthew Lago. I'm your Director of Outreach, and I'm speaking on potential educational career opportunities because I currently work as an extended care teacher, and I can attest that the people who are LGBT positive, racially sensitive, and class conscious are desperately needed in my field. I want to bring attention to two people of color who served as my inspiration that our public education system is not only fixable, but it's completely malleable. New York Representative Jamal Bowman, an educator and prominent figure in public education. To the bottom, I also want to bring attention to Karen Lewis, who served as the president of the Chicago Teachers Union and fought for readable contracts, fair wages, and the rights of teachers. Everyone in this presentation has the ability to make a difference in the lives of children, and I implore you that you all take these indirectly political jobs into consideration. So teacher union organizing allows you to literally fight for teachers and students and act as a lawyer and representative for teachers who are being coerced into contracts that they do not understand. Numerous times what you'll have is that they'll have teachers who are being forced into these meetings that they'll tell them basically that your job's at risk if you don't sign this contract right now, that you have to pay for this, you have to pay for your own supplies, when in reality, the principal may actually have their own fund that they don't have to pay for their own supplies. And what these representatives and teacher union organizers allow them to do is they can bring them along and say, hey, no, these are the rights of the teachers, and this is the money that you have to pay and fork over. The Florida Education Association is our biggest statewide union organization, and one that I'm in the process of being a part of, that always is interested in taking volunteers for protests and organizing in support for the rights of teachers. Another potential career opportunity is potentially working as a public school administrator. If you're like me and you want to see a public school system that is actively anti-racist and will defend the gender identity of students, then the reality is that expecting representatives to just go into every school in their purview and change teaching culture isn't realistic. Instead, if you strive to serve as an administrator, this allows you to change what curriculum is required to be implemented and can ensure that teachers under you aren't treating students fairly. And that's the end of my slide. And we're going to be going over the student government president and VP who have their own presentations.
Before we switch over, sorry, my dog is playing in the background. Before we switch over to our SGA candidates, I do just want to real quick, I'm going to drop it in the chat. It's a link to a Google Doc that our wonderful vice president made. It's basically a resource for if you were inspired by this presentation to like take a leap into a political field. It's a resource for kind of like a job bank. There's jobs in there, internships, all sorts of stuff is in there. It's broken down really nicely into different like differing levels. So yeah, if you're interested, looking for any opportunities, you can take a look there. If you're looking for something, if you don't see something on there, if you want something added to it, if you have an opportunity, or like if you just have any questions, you can always DM us on Instagram or email us, and we're happy to help you. Yeah, we can leverage these college Dems relationships to get you guys jobs, get you guys opportunities, if that's something you're interested in. So yeah, definitely don't be afraid to reach out. If we don't have a connection, we can definitely make one. So now we are going to switch over to our SGA. We have the two campaigns here. I believe the one I put first is Megan Austin. I think so. Yes. So first we're going to be hearing about Meg Hall and Austin Wilson's campaign, and it's their Instagram on the bottom. But
hey all, thank you so much for having us here today. We've been so excited to speak with you. I know Austin is joining currently, he's on his way, but I'll just get started in the, just to not waste any time. I don't want to keep y'all longer than you have to be here. And so I'm going to put in the chat our information as well. And it'll have our websites. You can see our full platform. We're going to share just a few of our favorite platform points, but if you want to see our full platform, it's available on our website there and on our Instagram as well. And is it all right, Hannah, if I share my screen?
Yeah, definitely. Let me. Are you able to? Do you have access?
I don't yet.
That should fix it.
Perfect. Okay. And my Google Slides has been a little persnickety, so it might take a while to go between slides, but it should be okay. So I'll tell you all just a little bit about us, Austin and I. I'm a legal studies major. I'm from St. Petersburg, Florida. I am minoring in creative writing and Spanish, and I've been involved in many different areas on campus. I started my involvement through Greek life. I'm in a sorority, and then I got very involved with Night Fun. I was on homecoming for 3 years. UCF student government I started in freshman year, and then I did moot court last year. So I'm kind of scattered with all of my involvement, but some of my favorite experiences were last year I participated in the Legislative Scholars Program, and I interned for a lobbying firm that represents UCF, and that was a really incredible experience. So I spent that internship at the state capitol in Tallahassee, and we lived there and worked there daily, and that was a really incredible experience because I got to see kind of the lobbying process firsthand and sit in on a lot of committee meetings and meet a lot of legislators. So that kind of fostered my passion for state politics, which I'm sure many of y'all are passionate about state politics. So you have my phone number, it's in the chat. If you ever want to talk about state politics, definitely reach out to me because I love it. And then as far as student government experience, I'm currently the governmental affairs coordinator. And that's been really incredible because I've gotten to work with all different political organizations on campus, including College Dems and some of our previous programs, the Political Information Fair, Nuggets and Nuggets, the video we did. So I really hope, I know we're doing the debate too, and I'm going to be a part of that as well coming up in a few weeks. But I really have enjoyed being governmental affairs coordinator. It's been incredible. And so I'm just really excited to be here too. And then Austin, I don't know, he was having trouble getting on.
I'm here.
Oh, perfect. Do you want to tell about yourself?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's so good to see so many familiar faces. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Austin Wilson. I'm a double major in political science, as I'm sure a lot of you are political science majors, and also majoring in criminal justice. I'm from Cape Coral, Florida, so Southwest Florida. I've had a variety of involvement at my time at UCF. I've been a part of Habitat for Humanity. I've been the director of advocacy for 2 years. So affordable housing is a very big passion of mine. I've been in student government from a lot of different areas, including the Election Commission. I currently sit on their Sustainability Council, their Scholarship Committee, and Swipe Out Hunger. I've been involved with Hearts for the Homeless when I initially thought I wanted to be a biomed major, so I did their recruitment director. And then, as Meg mentioned before, I've been on President's Leadership Council, and I'm super excited to be here with all of you.
Perfect. So a big focus of ours is transitioning to in-person events as UCF transitions to face-to-face classes. I'm sure we all saw the announcement. I saw it on social media as well about the transition to face-to-face classes. So we just want to make sure that the other side of that, RSO meetings, graduation, big events like that are being properly resourced, are being properly cared for so that students who attend these events feel comfortable doing so. So something we want to do is host in-person event workshops for RSO leaders, organization leaders, Greek life leaders to attend to make sure that when they're hosting these events, they're following all the proper procedures to keep everyone safe. And that also there's, a pathway to hosting these events so that no one feels like confused or overwhelmed or like it's impossible to hold these events just because of all the restrictions. So we want to find that happy medium with giving people accessibility, but also making sure everyone is informed and given the proper resources to make sure that these are safe events, but also that they're possible events. We also want to provide extra PPE and resources to different organizations. This can take place in the form of, face masks, face shields, sanitizing stations at events. We have a lot of those in OSI, as well as to providing like the spaces that are necessary to meet in person, but also be spread out and safe. And possibly, converting Memory Mall with tents and things like that if we need to have outdoor events for RSOs, depending on the size. And then we'll move on to our next. Is there anything else here, Austin, you want to speak on?
Other than, we recognize the need to armor up as we've continued to do, but as we continue to transition, it is, silly in a sense that they're having these football games and we can't have some sort of socially distanced graduation. And so the emphasis of our platform, I think, with all these points is one, it has the students in mind first, but also safety, because, as we continue, let's not forget, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. And so we can't make too bold of a decision just at this moment.
So next, speaking on campus life, something we want to do is expand the student section at football games. This will allow more students to attend football games because I know the lottery process has been really difficult for some students to get to attend. And additionally, hopefully help students feel safer when they're at these football games. So I think it's really important that, like Austin said, we're putting students first. The student section is pretty small. If you used to go to games before COVID, it was still full, even without the lottery system. So we just want to make games and athletic events in general more accessible for students. We also want to bring back food trucks to Memory Mall. I don't know if any of y'all are juniors or seniors, then you would remember when the Union was under construction, that food court area. And so they used to bring in food trucks to Memory Mall to allow for additional food options. But then when the Union was finished being constructed, they got rid of food trucks, which was so sad because they were so fun. And also it gives more alternatives for the meal choices in the Union. I know we have this food court, but a lot of places have been closed and a lot of places are very similar. Like there's kind of a lack of cultural food specifically. So we'd like to make sure that there are kosher options, vegetarian options available by bringing in food trucks at least every Friday and having the food truck vendors rotate so that lots of different options are brought to UCF.
Absolutely. And then the Pegasus Penthouse, this is the idea we first brought forward for the 4th floor. I know, College Dems has in the past had socials and, I'm sure you've gotten to a bunch of different places. This is, bringing that leisure aspect a little bit more to campus by potentially converting that 4th floor area. It's not that big, so, we got to keep that in mind, but potentially including a small, home theater movie area so students can watch, potentially a condensed version of a bowling alley, meaning 2 lanes essentially, like some of the apartment complexes do in their bowling alleys. And then also an arcade area, but more the specific fact with the Pegasus Penthouse is Night Bites, which again is bringing these options, whether they're cultural food options or other options, because we recognize Aramark has been very stringent with the fact that what can be brought into this university. And so we want to make sure, there are still options for a lot of different students. And then Coke Freestyle machines, this is actually born out of Meg and I sitting at Gringos Locos. And we're like, it would be very interesting to have all of these across campus where students can access free refills. One, it's sustainable because, you're not using different cups all the time. You're using the same cup and recycling that one. And also it's already being done at other areas such as Universal having those sensor cups offered to students, and then you can get those free refills. And then it also saves you money as a student overall.
Absolutely. And we'll go to the next slide.
This is the executive outreach committees. Oh yeah, do you want to talk about it, or?
No, Austin, you've got this.
So this is actually one of my favorite points, the EOCs. Being a part of student government, we realize, in the past, they haven't always directly connected to other students who are involved in student government. And so this is the key point with this. We want to make sure that there's specific committees students can join to be ambassadors, to be advisors to Meg and I potentially, across a whole host of issues, starting with the Interfaith Council, overseen by the Diversity and Inclusion Coordinator. That includes, UCF Hillel. It could include Catholic ministries, any kind of sort of ministry kind of coming together to talk about religious inclusivity, but also the diversity around that issue. And really what's cool about these EOCs is if we bring them under the umbrella of the executive branch, you could use some more funding that we have. The executive branch has about $900,000 dedicated to student initiatives. And by partnering with these EOCs, like say, for example, one specific to College Dems could be the Ignite Your Vote Coalition. I'm going to throw it to Meg because I know this was a huge passion of hers during the voting time last year. And I know she worked with College Dems, so I'd like her to speak on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I'll just say that the Ignite Your Vote Coalition is something that I tried to start this past election cycle, but I think that it's something that could be really important for every year. I know that we're going into a year that's not necessarily an election year, but it's still important that students at UCF are civically engaged, that they are politically informed. And so something that I would really like to do is expand this coalition, make it meet regularly, give titles and opportunity for students to kind of be like student government agents through this coalition. And I'm hoping it's something that we can include College Dems and College Republicans, Turning Point, March for Our Lives, all of the political RSOs on campus, and allow them to come together for a coalition. And then hopefully they would have a budget then to put on events, to create informational sessions, to have debates, kind of expand upon what we're already doing with the governmental affairs component of student government, because I think that it's so important. And I think that, having events like this can be really helpful and just show political unity at UCF.
Absolutely. And then the last EOC I'll touch upon, you obviously see the list and you probably can visit our platform on our website, but the Connect Campus Council, I'm not sure if any students in this call are from Rosen or downtown, but a lot of times they do get shut out of the conversation. They don't feel student government or UCF in general hosts events or reaches out to them to seek their opinion. So having this specifically, overseen by potentially the student body vice president gives that direct pipeline so these students can have their concerns addressed immediately versus going through bureaucratic tape overall with the university to get issues addressed. So that's one of the ones I'm most excited about because I know for the past time, Rosen and downtown have been ignored.
Austin, do you want to speak on textbook affordability?
Yes, absolutely. So we obviously are all student leaders in our own sense, and we obviously join all these different organizations to make an impact. But in front of all those definitions, we're students first. And so textbook affordability, this was actually brought to us by an organization called Wiki Nights, about Faculty Senate trying to implement this program instead of switching from an opt-in program, what we have now, to an opt-out program. In layman's terms, that essentially means everyone would be required to receive their books from the bookstore unless you click otherwise. So it's really, daunting that this could potentially happen because a lot of students would not realize of this transition because, I usually just go through Amazon or Chegg to get my textbooks. I mean, to be transparent, because it's a lot cheaper. And so having this option be mandatory for students to have to opt out themselves is just another, red tape essentially that's being put in place by the university, because in fact, this doesn't save any discounts to students. It's the same discounts that would be given to the opt-in program that we currently have. So overall, we want to make sure that UCF at the Board of Trustees level, but also, at the student government level, know this is something we're not going to move on.
Great, and then I'll speak really quickly on TEDx UCF. This is something I'm really excited about. Basically, it's just creating a partnership with TEDx. It's something that we want to make a committee too of students who would host these TEDx events. We're hoping for at least 4 a year, so have quarterly events where we bring in speakers from outside the Orlando area, and then also really put a spotlight on our student speakers or faculty speakers, and kind of put UCF on the map through hosting these events. I just think it'd be really cool if like a couple years from now, you're in a comms class or you're teaching a class or something even, and you're able to show a TED Talk from UCF. And it's just about showcasing our students, but also bringing in new voices from outside of the UCF community.
And then on the note of, academics and talking about the textbook affordability, one thing that this has been, done on previous administrations' platforms, it's just never, got over the finish line. So we saw it, previously, and we realized if it keeps showing up, there's obviously an urgent need for it. And that's the SG Academic Archive. It has two components, the old component of, advocating for all syllabi to be posted on, web courses or MyUCF before you register for classes, because it's important to know what you're getting into, especially given the circumstances of online classes. I'm sure a lot of you can attest to the fact that you sometimes don't know what you're getting into regarding how much effort the teacher is going to pay attention to you. And so also on the flip side is promoting relevant information about MyUCF and those end of course evaluations. We want to make sure, that scale that you all fill out is available. And essentially it's our own kind of system of Rate My Professor that's a lot more reliable. But also we want to make sure on this note, I know end evaluations and then just evaluations in general regarding professors are really big. We want to make sure that anytime, there's any instance of having negativity towards a professor or anything, that's not swiped under the rug. That's included in their evaluation. Because again, you should know what kind of professors you're dealing with and what kind you're getting into.
Great, and then really quickly, I'll speak on nightly discounts. So this would just be expanding that ticket center that's located on the first floor of the Student Union. It's by the hub. If anyone's been before, you get discounted tickets for Disney there, or they have tickets to the Mystery Dinner Show for a discounted price. We want to expand that and have it relate to the businesses, local businesses specifically, try to work out some partnerships possibly where we could get discounted, maybe you spend $10, but you get a $15 coupon to a restaurant around campus, like some sort of discount like that. And then also to include the Dr. Phillips Center in there. We want to work to create a partnership. I don't know if any of y'all are into theater. I'm not talented, but I am into theater, and I love going. And I know that Dr. Phillips Center has a student rush program where they give discounted tickets to students who wait outside. And we're like, oh, if they already have that program, like how can we connect that to UCF, where maybe you can buy the tickets at UCF instead of having to wait outside the Dr. Phillips Center. But whatever it takes to kind of form a connection there. And then the last thing is to allow all students to access Netflix, even if they're off campus. I don't know if any of y'all have lived on campus before or used the campus Wi-Fi to watch Netflix, but it's kind of UCF's own version of Netflix. And it's really fun. I have lived on campus all 3 years, so I'm always on it. But I do believe too that you should be able to access it when you're off campus, as long as you are able to sign in with your NID and passwords. That's something that we want to work with housing to potentially offer.
And then the last, I believe this is one of our last points, because I know you obviously have been here for a while, but if you have any questions, we obviously would love to take those as well. But this is just making sure, this is a battle that has been going on ever since I've been here freshman year, parking. Increasing parking options for obviously residents, especially with the fact that there's actually going to be this performing arts center that's going to be moved forward with the university, kind of near the theater and music building. They're about to lose, I believe, around 400 parking spaces. That's a lot for this university to potentially lose. And so we want to make sure they're evaluating options of better ways to increase parking for students, whether that's, paving that gravel lot on Greek Park or other lots, because then more students would be more likely to park there because their car wouldn't get as dirty. But also it's working with parking services in a way that's been different in the past. I have a lot, not a lot of parking tickets. I don't want to, say that out loud, but I have dealt with parking services. I'm sure Meg has as well, making sure that parking services has this leniency program implemented where your first parking ticket you receive each semester is either waived or not taken into consideration, because we all obviously make mistakes. There's sometimes freshmen who get caught up in that situation. So we want to make sure UCF has a level of understanding regarding this issue.
Absolutely. And also, Austin, like I promise this isn't a prop. I literally got one today. And so I have to look at it, but it's probably my fault. But just as an example of how frequently we get tickets, you can be here for years and
her.
You can be here for years and it still happens to you. So it's fine. But anyways, the last point is just about pedestrian safety. This is very personal to me. It's why I decided to become involved with student government, is because I noticed a lack of pedestrian safety around campus, and I have a personal connection to why this is so important. So something we want to implement is a nightlife bus that will kind of be an expansion on the Night Ride program that we currently have, where it takes students off campus as well. That way you don't have to walk across like Alafaya, for example, which is a crazy intersection. And we want to improve pedestrian safety all around campus by adding more lights, specifically in that area between Milliken Hall and the library. So if you're ever studying late at the library and you have to walk to your car in the Milliken Hall parking lot and you walk kind of that half circle by the reflection pond, I believe that that's the darkest area on campus from what I've noticed. And it's crazy dark. Like I will be honest with you, in full transparency, I've walked it before and I don't feel safe walking there by myself, because you stick your hand out and you can't see like your hand in front of your face because it's so dark sometimes. And we also want to add more blue lights around campus. We did a safety walk a couple weeks ago and I noticed an extreme lack of blue lights. Other universities have a 360 rule, which means you can turn any point you're on campus, you should be able to turn 360 and somewhere see a blue light. And we don't have that here at UCF. Like I stood in many areas on campus and did my little turn. I was like, where is the blue light? So that's something we want to do too, is add more blue lights, as well as add cameras to the parking garages. In case of, there's sometimes theft in the parking garages. I'll tell you a personal anecdote is that when I was a freshman, my roommate had all 4 of her tires stolen from Garage E. So, things happen, it's crazy, but we just want to make sure that campus is as safe as possible. And that's it from us. Voting takes place March 15th through 17th. No matter who you vote for, just vote. That's, civic engagement. Just make your voice heard, regardless of the outcome. And you can vote through the UCF app, and you can scan this as well to see our link tree, which has our full platform, our website, our Instagram, all of that. But does anyone have any questions for us or anything?
I just real quick would like to point out, I know some of you were probably following us on our former Instagram. There was a hacking situation. Our Instagram unfortunately got deleted. So we do have a new Instagram called Megan Austin 21. That link tree will bring you to it. So if you want to follow us again and everything, so you can keep following our journey, we would really appreciate that.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming. We super appreciate you taking the time to be here with us tonight. And everybody, does anybody have any questions real quick before we let them go? Okay. We'll make sure that you're voting March 15th through 17th. Is that it?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, you can vote on MyUCF or through the app. Now, do we have the representative from the other campaign here? Okay. Dylan, can you bring back up the PowerPoint? Awesome. Okay. If you go to the next slide, can you go back one? Perfect. It does have their Instagram on there, so if you want to take a look at their platform, you're welcome to do that. It's in like the link in their bio, I'm sure. But yeah, just checking one more time. Okay. All right. So last thing, we just want to talk about some upcoming events and opportunities. March is a super, super busy month for us. So I'll try to make this fast, but I want to make sure I get everything. So the first thing is this weekend on Saturday from 1 to 3, UCF College Dems is going to be collaborating with UF and FSU College Dems to put on like a statewide student day of action. So this is going to be informative, but also like action items kind of event. So it's actually going to be Dylan who's going to be representing UCF. So definitely come out and support him. He's going to be talking about, it's going to be based around the state legislature and some of their bills, some that we support and some that we don't. So we're just going to be talking a little bit about those and then giving action items for ways to get involved and make your voice heard. So that is this Saturday from 1 to 3. If you are signed up at our meeting sign up link and got the email for tonight, you'll get the email for that one as well. But yeah, definitely come out. I think it's going to be a great event and a great way to get to know some other college Dems from other campuses. Okay, let's see what's next. We have an environmental advocacy event with Jobs for Justice and Florida Student Power Network, tentatively scheduled for March 18th. More details on that to come, but we know that environmental advocacy is something that's super important to a lot of students. So I'm excited to learn more in that event. The next thing, is we're going to be collaborating with YDSA, which is the Young Democratic Socialists of America. It's a RSO here on campus. We're going to be collaborating with them on a clothing drive. I believe the title is like trans youth or LGBTQ plus youth clothing drive, something like that. So they're going to be having that drive on campus from March 29th through the 31st. They are looking for volunteers and donations. So if you want to go through your closet and donate some clothes, they're definitely looking for that. And then they're also looking for volunteers to help with collection. So if you're interested in that, please DM us on Instagram or send us an email, and we can get you connected with them. Where there's like a volunteer call to make sure everybody's on the same page coming up in the next week, I believe, or maybe 2 weeks. So if you're interested in volunteering, please let me know. And if you can't volunteer, but you want to stop by and drop off some clothes, please do that. It's a really important cause and they do a lot of great work in the community. We also have a bunch of our caucuses, the Black Caucus, Women's Caucus, LGBTQ plus caucus, and Hispanic Caucus are going to be collaborating on a domestic violence panel in honor of Women's History Month, which started yesterday. So happy Women's History Month. We don't have a date quite set for that yet, but definitely stay tuned. I'm excited about that event. That's a really important issue, very intersectional issue. So we're hoping to highlight that. We've also been tabling around campus these past couple of weeks. You've probably seen Matthew and Dylan maybe tabling around campus. So just keep a lookout for, we'll definitely try to send out messages and post on our Instagram when we're going to be on campus. But if you want to come say hi, we definitely want to avoid like large crowds, of course, but definitely stop by with your mask on, and we'd love to talk to you. And if you want to bring your friends who want to join, definitely bring them also. Again, I want to highlight the debate commission form. I'm blanking now on the exact date of the debate, but it's the third week of March. So that is the form if you're interested in helping us with research, or you want to participate in the debate. We've had a couple people sign up already, so we're super excited to get started working with you guys. I'm going to close the form tonight at midnight because we do need to get going on like research and everything. But yeah, please, if you're interested, if you sign up, that doesn't mean you have to like speak. You can do just research. If you don't want to participate or anything like that, that's fine. But yeah, so we'd love to have as many people as possible on that. Yes, the debate is going to be a hybrid event, so it will be in person. There will be a limited number of in-person like tickets available. If you aren't in the area or don't want to come in person, it will be live streamed, so you'll be able to watch it that way. It'll be in the Pegasus Ballroom on campus in the Student Union. On March 10th, which is next week, Equality Florida is going to be having a day at the Capitol. They call it Pride at the Capitol, and they're looking for people to participate in that. Again, if you're interested in that, please DM us or email us, and I can get you in contact with them. Equality Florida, if you're not familiar with them, they're an LGBTQ+ advocacy organization. They do a lot of work here, especially after the Pulse shooting. They've done a lot of advocacy work in Orlando, but they're a great organization. If you're familiar with like Representative Carlos Guillermo Smith, he works for them. So yeah, if you're interested in helping them with their lobbying efforts at the state capitol, please let me know. We also have the Office of Representative Omari Hardy from Florida's House District 88 is looking for interns. I have her email right here on the screen. It's her like district secretary who runs their internship program. If you're interested in any sort of like legislative work and want to get your foot in the door, I know this is a really great opportunity. I interned for a state legislature. I know Dylan is right now interning for Carlos. So it's a super great opportunity. If you're not sure if you want to get into that side of politics, you can definitely email her. Yeah. Then we also have 2 volunteer opportunities, one with the Center for Independent Living. If you were at I believe it was our last meeting about disability advocacy, that is what this organization does. They are surrounded their like mission is to help disabled people live more independent lives. So if you're interested in volunteering with them, again, email or DM us, and I can get you in contact. And then the other organization is called From the Outside In. That's a typo. They work with like youth who are like homeless or are in like low income families, that sort of stuff, to get them. Some of it is like clothing, kind of similar to like Knight's Pantry, like clothing, food, if they need like help getting a job, that sort of stuff. They work with youth in that area. So if you're interested in volunteering with them, that's their website, fromtheoutsidein.org/volunteer. And that's how you can get involved. They have a bunch of different like sectors, I guess, that they're looking for volunteers in. So definitely check them out if you're looking for like volunteer opportunities. You can go to the last slide, Dylan.
I was also just quickly, if I can plug, that we are also in the works. We kept talking about it for the past couple meetings, but we are in the works with a environmental event with our environmental caucus. That should hopefully be at some point in March, probably mid to end of March. And right now what we're looking at is a thing called a bio blitz, which is something that Volunteer UCF has done in the past. But basically the hope is that we will be at a part of the Arboretum, and effectively you would all download like an app that allows you to take pictures of both the wildlife and fauna in that area, and that information and gets sent to local conservationists. So that's something that, while it may not sound super flashy, whatnot, it actually does a lot of good work for those conservationists so that they can monitor the health of our environment. So that'll be something that happens later in the month. And then I also just wanted to add on to that that doc that we sent out earlier about all the different opportunities. That's something that we're hoping to release a new one for each meeting of just different opportunities that we get, and then other things that we find, to give you guys more information. And I would also encourage you guys really to look at that. If you can, it'll be put on our link tree each time we have a new meeting, it'll be updated. But with a lot of those opportunities, the deadlines are coming for a lot of those internships and everything like that. So I would definitely encourage you guys to look at them, especially when some of them are paid. Some are upwards of 15. I saw one that had $20 an hour. So some of them are actually very lucrative. They're all great because they all give you experience, but some of them are really good. And some of them are in organizations that other people generally may not know that much about. So you might even have a better shot at getting an internship, particularly a paid one. So I would definitely encourage you guys to look at that. And like we said, we're going to keep updating that as time goes by. But yeah, that's all I had. So I'll move it to the next.
I have one more. Sorry, I forgot. So if you're interested, so for anyone that's not familiar with like FCD and how that structure works, so just like we have caucuses in our organization, so does FCD. And I am working right now with a student from Eckerd to start the Jewish caucus for FCD. So if you're interested in joining that, let me know. We're looking for members. But yeah, okay. Back to UCF, if you can go to the last slide, Dylan. This is just our Stay Connected slide again. Please follow us on Instagram, join our Slack channel, Twitter, Facebook. Like I said, we have a new Twitter, so if you're following us before, make sure you follow us again. But yeah, thank you everybody for coming. If anybody has any announcements that they want to make or has any questions or anything like that, feel free to do that now. And the board will stick around for a couple minutes if anyone has any questions.
Oh, I actually had an idea for like a caucus event. I don't really know if it fit in with like the women's caucus, but honestly, just like as a whole, I have a connection with if you know the Supreme Court case, Tinker versus Des Moines, the girl who was in the case spoke to my government class in high school, and I have her like contact, and I've spoken to her before, and she really likes coming out to different student things and like talking about like the case and like her story and the importance of student power. That's definitely something I can organize if we're interested.
Yeah, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sounds cool. Tinker v. Des Moines is a very prominent Supreme Court case. So I mean, yeah, if anything, we definitely could do something. I guess if anything, I can get back to you a little bit more about it, but that's definitely something we can maybe organize. That'd be cool.
All right, cool. Yeah, I can definitely contact her.
For that, for the domestic violence thing, are we planning on doing like a panel?
Yes, right?
Yes, it's I think it said panel event on the